Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television. It is Thursday, the 2nd of April, 2026. Thank you for joining us. I am Samson Balogun.
And I'm Oluwayemi Adelako. It's great to have you with us as we bring you the stories shaping conversations across the country and beyond.
All right, I will begin this morning with developments from the ongoing trial of former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele, where a witness has revealed that former President Muhammadu Buhari approved the local production of redesigned Naira notes. The revelation adds a new layer to the ongoing discourse around Nigeria's monetary policy decisions and their implications.
And after our opening conversation, we bring you the weather report to help you plan your day, followed by Daybreak News, where we will take you through the top national and international stories.
Then it's on to newspaper headlines and analysis, where we review the major stories making the front pages. And joining us for analysis this morning is Temitokpe Ishola, historian and public affairs analyst.
And later on, we take a deep dive into our big story, a country without borders. How weak immigration control became a national security risk. It's a critical conversation on border management, national security, and policy effectiveness. We'll be joined by Sam Woko, Deputy Editor at the Nigerian Tribune, to help us unpack the issues and provide expert insight.
And as always, we'll wrap things up on this show this morning with Trend Watch, our tracking conversations gaining traction across social and civic spaces.
This is Daybreak Live on Dominion Television.
Right.
Good morning once again.
Good morning to you all.
Good morning,
of course, good morning to you, Yemi. It's really nice to always come back here every morning to discuss trending issues across the globe and most importantly, Nigeria. And this actually caught my attention yesterday when a witness came out to say, look, President Muhammadu Buhari approved the printing of Naira notes, redesigned Naira notes in Nigeria. And that brings about question about our monetary policies in Nigeria and how they are. Sometimes it's not really about the policy, it's about implementation. And the orders being given to, sometimes I think, just like people say, the federal system of government sometimes empowers the federal government too much, that they take decisions and then you begin to wonder why those decisions were taken in the first place. I mean, they have been saddled with the responsibility, yes, to oversee the affairs of the country, but when they take some decisions, especially when they are no longer in office, and people begin to question those decisions. I mean, how do you explain printing of Naira notes, redesigned Naira notes in Nigeria? And people were still looking for cash at that time.
Honestly, it was really, it was a terrible time in this country, speaking about that cashless era. And of course, a witness came out to say that, okay, Emefiele did not decide to print, the new Naira note on his own. That the president actually approved it. But the court is saying, even if the president approved it, you are supposed to go through the board recommendations, right, to ensure that, everything was in place. And then even people that worked with that particular administration, a lot of them back then said, oh, it will help us, reduce vote buying. So I ask a question this morning, how much of vote buying did it curb? And then how much of pain did it inflict on the people? Because I recall it was terrible. It doesn't matter whether you have money. People died during that policy. Because why? They could not access their money, and then hospitals were asking for cash. They are saying, do not send money, we prefer cash. And then even in Benue State, it was terrible to the fact that, to the point whereby people had to go back to trade by barter. So if you have Gary, and then I have rice, we can exchange. So it was really terrible, and then I don't know how we got it. And then away from that, I think the case is still in court. We've been on that case for years now, so I don't know when it's going to come to an end. And there was even a time that the court ruled that, 752 duplexes should be sold. And then a particular group came up to say, no, let's not sell it to. Let's give it to soldiers. So we are still debating certain issues about it, that I was able to amass, that kind of property, and not just the duplexes, money too, that made up, exactly, that has been forfeited because of, certain charges, against him. So it's really sad. And then I just want to believe, I don't know, whatever it is that they do now, it cannot really, bring back the lives of those who died back then. It cannot ease, the pain of some persons, even after that cashless policy. But at the end of the day, we believe justice must be served to see that, he will really, face whatever it is that he needs to face, for actually doing certain things. And then another witness also mentioned, I think around last year, that even some commercial banks, they deliberately decided to hoard cash from people, just because they don't want a flow, they don't want a flow of the cash in the society. And then it affected a lot of things, for a lot of people. I remember that some of my friends will leave the house as early as 5 a.m. just because they want to get 10,000 naira cash at the bank. Some persons will go and they will still not get anything. So yeah, going back to that cashless policy,
you
honestly,
have millions of naira in your bank account and someone tells you can take more than 10,000 naira.
Exactly.
And to say that most businesses rejected cash transfers at that time, they wanted cash, they wanted to touch the money.
Exactly.
I mean, before then, people were moving towards cashless policy. Okay, I don't really have to pay you cash, I can transfer money to you. At that point, so many people weren't even touching cash as much. But immediately, the whole cashless policy issue and of course the scarcity of cash came on board, it became a problem. And then people were beginning to, what they were running away from, they started getting it done at that time. They started looking for cash. But then we'll talk about some issues that could have happened if they started printing cash excessively. And then we'll see how many of that actually happened to Nigeria as a country. But before we touch that, let's go on a quick break. When we return, Daybreak Live continues on Dominion Television.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominioncast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Welcome back from that short break. The show is still Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television, your channel of choice. And we're talking about what the excess printing of the Naira actually did to the country, Nigeria. And I was talking about inflation. It was that period. Inflation rose to double figures. And then it kept rising and rising and rising. And, sometimes people really do not understand why all of these things are happening. Most of these banks had to go through recapitalization. Okay, they were growing bigger and bigger, and then they needed to be sure and certain that the future of the monies kept in their custody would be safe. So they had to go through recapitalization, meaning they didn't have too much cash to spare, especially for those who were taking loans from them. And also, when the federal government at that time under President Muhammadu Buhari decided to print, what it did to the nation was to erode the trust people would have in some Nigerian institutions, and it became a problem in the long run. And if it was not curbed at that time, it would have caused a lot of things. In fact, it actually aided the depreciation of the naira, and the spending power also reduced, because if the currency you are holding has less value, you just have, I mean, you can imagine holding 2,000 naira that was enough for you to feed a whole family for a day, one time, and then you hold it now, you can't even take lunch or maybe dinner with it. So it has gone to that stage where the currency had no value at that time. And I do hope that this can be reversed one way or the other, that the Nigerian currency will hold value regardless of how much it is against other currencies. But within Nigeria, there has to be some sort of value attached to it.
Right, I think you're very spot on. And then one thing I say is policies are good, but then at the end of the day, before you implement any policy, you should ensure that it will help the people more than it will affect them.
Right.
But that cashless policy, honestly, whether it
did more harm than good.
Did more harm than good. Yes, they did that because they wanted to reduce vote buying and things like that. But then at the end of the day, it was terrible. I recall that at the time, the POS people, it got worse to the point that you will use 500 naira to collect 2,000 naira. So even the card people, they had to inflate the prices. It was a lot. It was a lot. So, and I don't know, the president that actually approved this is late. So what are we going to do? So I think it's left to the court to decide whatever judgment they are going to pass on Emefiele.
Right.
And then one more thing is the fact that I think at the time, even the court had to fine EFCC 500,000 because why? They kept on delaying the trial of the man. I think that's why we are still here on this case ever since 2024. Why are we still on this matter? I think it's one reason why a lot of persons will say, no, the EFCC, they like to stall, they like to do this, but at the end of the day, they are saying we want to ensure that we do not mix up the issue. We want to ensure that proper investigations are done on this particular matter. So it speaks to the rot in the system, because how is it possible that someone was able to amass that level of property in the space of how many years? 753 duplexes. And the people were saying at the time, federal government said we are going to sell it all.
That amounts to how many local governments we have in Nigeria?
All right, 774.
Maybe they should just build one more and name them.
Exactly.
Of course, maybe one will be Ido local government, the other will be Anwarukuba.
So it was a lot at that time, and so I don't know, whatever it is that will be done to ensure that nobody will repeat this thing again. It doesn't matter, maybe the next governors that we are going to have for CBN, that nothing like this will happen again. So I also think the system is porous, because for him to have done that without recommendations, from the board, maybe they didn't sit on the matter, or maybe he found a way to just boycott the board and then went on to print the money, or maybe the president's approval at that time, okay, maybe give them access to actually say we don't need the board to actually give us recommendations. I just feel the system is too porous. Yes, the president is the #1 citizen in a country, but at the end of the day, there are processes.
Some things should not be vetoed.
Right.
I mean, some things majority of the decisions should go through a certain level of verification and scrutinization to make sure that, just like you said earlier, it works for them more than it affects them. I mean, the Nigerian people. And obviously, what that scenario during that period caused was to increase the poverty level in the country. Until now, Nigeria is still grappling with the effect of the cashless policy we had back then. But I do hope that, just like I said earlier, this can be reversed one way or the other, because it's becoming more alarming that the Nigerian currency, compared to other currencies across the globe, really has no width. And even if it does, within Nigeria, how strong is the currency in terms of bargain when you want to buy things? You begin to wonder. I mean, just imagine you taking your salary, and then by the end of the next evening, you can't even say, I have 1,000 naira in my bank account. That is actually my salary. So it has gotten that bad. And I believe that there are some mechanisms that can be put in place to forestall this free fall of the currency. And that should help the Nigerian nation.
Right.
But then, lastly, before we go, it also discouraged investors. Because there's no way you invest in a country that there's no stability for the currency. Today it is 1,400, tomorrow it is 1,300. You cannot plan a business that way. Meaning that if you start a business today, you might run into loss the next morning. You don't even know how much some resources will be gotten, especially raw materials. You don't know how much you import some of the goods you'll be needing. And if that is the case, you keep inflating and reducing. Inflating and reducing. You cannot really plan a business with that kind of model, and that will affect investors. They will not want to come in. And if, and only if, just like we have seen that the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration has been able to do, one way or the other, in the last maybe 2 or 3 months, it has been between 1314, 1314, it has been there. But there was a time where today it is 1,600, and the next morning it can be 1,700, especially in the parallel market. There was no stability whatsoever. I do hope that they can begin to now go a little bit backward, and then the Naira can actually have some sort of leverage against the dollar and some other currencies across the globe.
And then lastly, just on that Naira, I remember that even before that cashless policy, dollar was around 5 something, and then because of that, it jumped up, and then the whole subsidy removal worsened the situation. It jumped to around 700, 900,
and of course,
that's why
they had to remove the subsidy on the currency too, on the dollar, because at that point, if you are traveling, let's say for example, those who are going on religious pilgrimage, if you are traveling, you get your dollars at a different rate to people who are going to do business. It was even more expensive for people who do business with it than for who were traveling for religion. I mean, who does that? It shouldn't even happen in the first place. Who thought about it? Whose policy was that? I mean, if you traveling for pilgrimage is not for people who are still struggling, okay? The only reason you can think of traveling to maybe Mecca or Jerusalem is because you feel you are okay. It's not for the poor. I mean, I stand to be corrected, but it's not for the poor. You know, the last Hajj cost about 10 million naira. I mean, is that for the poor? No.
Samson, on top of that, do you know there's always a budget set aside for people who travel, especially for Christians and Muslims?
And even the government pay for something.
The government will pay for a lot of them. So what should we even say about that?
It is even more disheartening that even happens in Nigeria. It is not for the poor. If you know you want to go for Hajj, lesser Hajj, you want to go to Jerusalem or Jordan for religious pilgrimage, pay for it by yourself. Those are the areas where Nigeria's, wealth and resources are getting leaked, and nobody is even talking about it, because we tend to overlook some things because it is favoring some people, and when it doesn't favor you anymore, then you become angry birds and then start complaining about the administration.
Because how do we trace the money that is set aside for these things? How do we trace it?
That should be something that should be looked into. No government should pay for anybody's luxury. If you want to do that, pay for yourself. The
same way government is not paying for you if you want to go on vacation with your family.
That's because honestly, there's no difference.
It's actually a secular state at the end of the day.
All right, that's the convenient point to leave that topic this morning. And it is time for us to take weather report, and it will help you plan your day right here on Dominion Television. All right, as we speak, weather in Ibadan. This morning, the ancient metropolitan city of hospitality is currently at 25 degrees Celsius. It will rise by 5 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius later in the morning, partly cloudy with humidity around 2%. It will be mostly cloudy in the afternoon, rising a little bit to 33 degrees Celsius, humidity climbing to 18%. But in the evening, it drops to 27 degrees Celsius, remaining mostly cloudy, humidity also dropping to 7%. And overnight, it drops slightly to 25 degrees Celsius. It will be cloudy, and humidity also drops to 5% in the ancient city of Ibadan today.
And from Ibadan, we cross to Abeokuta, South Ogun this morning. Weather feels like 26 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning is expected to be around 31 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 2%. And of course, in the afternoon, we have 33 degrees Celsius, showers around 39%. That's a bit massive. In the evening, we have 28 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 1%. And overnight, it drops to 26 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 5%. And that's where we are for Abeokuta this morning.
All right, away from the gateway states, let's move straight to the center of excellence this morning, and that's talking about Lagos State. As we speak, weather in Lagos is currently at 33 degrees Celsius. There will be a slight drop to 30 degrees Celsius later in the morning, being mostly cloudy with humidity at 24 degrees Celsius. It drops, of course, it rises further just by a degree Celsius to 31 degrees Celsius in the afternoon, remaining mostly cloudy. Humidity drops to 16%. And in the evening, it drops to 29 degrees Celsius, remaining mostly cloudy, humidity at 1%. And overnight, also, it will drop by a degree Celsius to 28 degrees Celsius, and it will be cloudy, humidity climbing to 13% overnight in Lagos today.
And from Lagos, we cross to Port Harcourt, Rivers. Weather feels like 22 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 25 degrees Celsius. Scattered thunderstorms around 52%. In the afternoon, we have 26 degrees Celsius, thunderstorms around 76%. Wow, I don't think Rivers can escape showers today, definitely. And in the evening, it drops to 22 degrees Celsius, showers around 41%. And overnight, it drops to 21 degrees Celsius, 21 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 15%. And that's what we have for Port Harcourt this morning.
All right, moving on from the south-south to the north-central this morning. I will take this one from the largest state in Nigeria, Suleja, in Niger State. As we speak, weather in Suleja is mostly cloudy and is pegged at 25 degrees Celsius. It will rise by 5 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius later in the morning. It will be mostly cloudy and there's zero chance of humidity right there. Also in the afternoon, it rises further to 35 degrees Celsius. It will remain mostly cloudy and humidity will be around 4%. By evening, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius. Mostly cloudy with humidity at 3%, and overnight it drops further to 25 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy with zero chance of humidity in Suleja, Niger State today.
And from Suleja, we cross to Abuja, Federal Capital Territory. Weather feels like 24 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 30 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 1%. In the afternoon, we have 33 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 5%. In the evening, it drops to 27 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 4%. And overnight, it drops further to 25 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 1%. And that's what we have for FCT this morning.
All right, we take this one from the northwest this morning, and that is coming from Kano Municipal in Kano State. Right now, weather in Kano is also mostly cloudy, just like you have it in the north central, but it is relatively lower to that, and it is at 22 degrees Celsius as we speak. Later in the morning, it will be a sharp rise to 30 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, zero chance of humidity. And by afternoon, it rises further to 35 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, zero chance of humidity. In the evening, it drops to 29 degrees Celsius. It will be partly cloudy with zero chance of humidity. And that's what we have for Kano Municipal in Kano State today.
And from Kano, let's cross to Maiduguri, Borno. And weather feels like 24 degrees Celsius. Late in the morning is expected to be around 31 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. In the afternoon, we have 35 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0% as well. In the evening, it drops to 29 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 0%. And overnight, it drops further to 25 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 0%. And that's what we have for Maiduguri, Borno this morning.
All right, I think that will be all we can take on weather reports this morning. Do well to link up with us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Dominion Cast. You can watch us live on our website at www.dominion.org.ng, dominion.org.ng. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast and our Facebook channel at Dominion Broadcast Television. It is time to go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll take the news. We'll be back.
Hello and welcome. This is Daybreak News on Dominion Television, Ibadan. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. Vice President Kashim Shettima is set to launch Africa's first university innovation unipod at the Lagos State University. The initiative is aimed at turning Nigerian universities into centers for artificial intelligence, innovation, digital skills development, and entrepreneurship. The program is a joint effort between the federal government and the United Nations Development Program, designed to reposition tertiary institutions as drivers of economic growth and innovation. The federal government said it has invested about $500 million to upgrade the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos as part of effort to modernize Nigeria's aviation infrastructure. Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, disclosed these at the Aircraft Acquisition and Investment Summit in Lagos. Keyamo described the project as a major commitment by the government to transform the country's aviation sector, valued at $712 billion. The MMRA modernization project is aimed at turning the Eden facility into a world-class aviation hub. The federal government has announced a ban on the importation of used vehicles without proper certification, introducing stricter controls on automotive import into Nigeria. The Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, John Eno, disclosed these during an event organized by the National Automotive Design and Development Council. Under the new regulation, all vehicles must secure pre-shipment certification before entering the country. The minister warned that non-compliant vehicles will be denied clearance, seized, or face other legal sanctions, stressing that the policy takes immediate effect and is fully enforceable. Moving on to legal matters, the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja has set aside the arrest warrant earlier issued against factional People's Democratic Party National Chairman Kabiru Turaki. Justice Peter Kekemeke vacated the bench warrant after Turaki appeared in court. The order followed an oral application by his counsel, Chris Uche, who apologized for the absence at the previous hearing. The court had issued the warrant after Turaki failed to appear for arraignment on the police charge. The defense has also indicated plans to withdraw an earlier motion seeking a stay of execution of the arrest order. Now to the peace-settled state. The wife of the Oyo State Governor, Tamunomenini Makinde, has marked the Easter celebration with orphans and vulnerable children across the state, distributing food items and cash support to ease the impact of current economic challenges. She was represented by the wife of the Deputy Governor, Ajibike Lawa, during visit to selected homes. Lawa stated that the outreach was aimed at showing love and solidarity with vulnerable children while reaffirming the government's commitment to their welfare. She noted that 12 homes were visited across the 33 local government areas to ensure children in orphanages and similar institutions feel included during the festive period. Also speaking, Chairman of the House Committee on Women Affairs and Community Development in the Oyo State House of Assembly, Olufunke Adeniyi Olajide, described the initiative as part of ongoing effort to prioritize child welfare. The Olubado of Ibadan, Oba Rashidi Adewolu Ladoja, said the establishment of state police in Nigeria will help reduce crime across the country. He made this known during a courtesy visit by members of the Ibadan Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture at his palace in Okeremo, Ibadan. The monarch also disclosed that the palace has set up an economic and investment committee to address challenges affecting Ibadan's economy, particularly power supply. He said the committee will focus on reviving moribund industries to boost economic growth and create jobs for youth. In business, the Central Bank of Nigeria has directed banks and other financial institutions to complete a mandatory cybersecurity self-assessment within 3 weeks as part of effort to strengthen resilience across the financial system. The directive introduces a cybersecurity self-assessment tool to evaluate the level of cyber risk exposure among regulated entities. According to the Apex Bank, the tool will assess key areas including governance structures, risk management frameworks, technology systems, third-party risk, incident response capacity, and overall operational resilience. The CBN noted that findings from the assessment will enhance regulatory oversight and support risk-based supervision, across the sector. And in sports, Nigeria's Super Eagles have retained their 26th position in the latest FIFA Men's World Rankings. The rankings reflect the team's recent performances under head coach Eric Chu, including a 2-1 victory over Iran and a 2-2 draw against Jordan in March. Despite holding steady globally, the Super Eagles remain the third highest ranked team in Africa, behind Morocco, who sit 8th in the world, and Senegal in 14th position. At the top of the global rankings, France has overtaken Spain to become the #1 team in the world. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and X at Dominion Cars. And that ends Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I'm Oluwayemi Adelako saying good morning and thank you for watching. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. This is Newspaper Headlines and Analysis. I'm Oluwaimi Adelako. I'm not alone this morning. I have with me Temitope Ishola, who is a historian and public affairs analyst. Welcome. And it's been a while. Nice to have you this morning.
It's a pleasure to be here. Happy New Month.
Happy New Month to you. Yeah. I was going to say Happy New Year, but then I think you've been here. All right. Okay, let's start with the Punch this morning. And I have the banner headline that says, INEC derecognizes Mark Aregbesola. Parties revolt. ADC, PDP, UB reject INEC stance on Mark Aregbesola. Parties accuse APC of inciting INEC vow resistance. INEC insists decision guided by court ruling sags Nafiu Gumbe as ADC chair. What do you make of this situation? The PDP that's not even part of the ADC. They're also coming out to say APC is trying to cause chaos in the ADC by trying to derecognize Mark Aregbesola and of course the NWC members. What do you make of this? Do you think this is political or it's just INEC trying to do their job?
It's highly political, and I saw the news just when I was about to sleep yesterday, and I think if I'm being honest, there's this heaviness in my heart, even up until now, coming in. I just deliberately try to deflect it with different things because I think it's beginning to become clear that 2027, INEC is not looking out for an election, but a coronation ceremony. Sorry. So there is no, and I also believe that from the way the government has been moving, and I've been telling people, it's just that it seemed like I was just saying it, but I said I've not seen signs that the president or the APC are interested in the people's vote to return back into. They are not counting on the people voting for their second term.
So
they basically want to force. So that's what we are seeing already. So they are basically putting every measures in place to ensure that they install themselves back into power without necessarily the vote of the people. Already they are in office by just 23% or 30-something% of the total vote casted in the last election, which ordinarily shouldn't be. It should be a popular candidate that should emerge as the president of the country, meaning give or take at least 50% or slightly above 50% of the voting population should usher in a new government to show acceptance. But here we have a government that is becoming increasingly unpopular every day and realizes that it cannot go into an election and win on the merits. So what we have seen is them putting different measures in place. At first, they undermined and then caused problems in Labour Party to push out Peter Obi. It took INEC over 8 months to rectify what the appeal court judgment had given.
The crisis in Labour Party, is that not because of the ego of certain persons?
So those are the same. So as at the time it was happening in Labour Party, it's as many persons assumed it was just a Labour Party affair. But anyone that pays close attention to it will realize the patterns there. Why is it that 8 months after Peter Obi left the Labour Party, in just a few weeks after, the court judgment that had been given 8 months earlier was rectified, was implemented up until after he had left? So as long as he was in the party, they did not do so. Now we have an ADC that supposedly is a viable opposition to go into the elections. The INEC came out yesterday night, and I thought it was an April Fool message because it is April 1st. But saying that it was on their official platform of communication, I could already tell that this was a serious issue. But where I'm even having issues with INEC now is that the court's judgment, it is not in INEC's place to interpret that judgment that way. INEC ought, if at all there's any ambiguity, INEC ought to go back to the court to ask for clarification and interpretation, because the same measure that is applied, they are using, how will I put it, they're applying a particular function in two different ways. So the same basis why they are recognizing Senator David Mark and the likes is the same issues that are on ground in the PDP, and they are recognizing the Wike faction. So they are not even following their own rules, as it were, or their own guideline of approach. If you claim that there's a faction, and as such you are not going to recognize any faction, why isn't that applicable to the Wike faction, to the PDP, where there's a clear two faction, the Turaki faction, NWC, and the Mohammed Abdurrahman NWC, that for their own understanding?
Do you think it's because of a court order? Maybe they did that because
of
a court order.
What we have seen also under this administration is that the easiest way to cause issues in the system is just for a court case to just be up. So, and they hide under that legal guise of, oh, this matter is before the court. We don't want to do anything that would affect it. But the truth is, they are in control of the judiciary. So anyone can go somewhere and just get any court injunction, whether it is tenable or not. And now, let's zone it down to this issue that we have currently. Nafi Gombe resigned as the national vice chairman of the ADC about, say, some 8 months ago, in I think August or so, or July last year. So why is it now that we're having it? And the letter is not even in secret, it's a public document. It was part of the executives that sat down and had their National Executive Committee meeting where they handed over the structures of the party to them, Senator David Mark. So in clear cases, this is even a case of internal democracy. It is not about a convention, someone was pushed away and the likes. This is very clear. If you are having over 15 or so executive members and every one of you decided, signed, it shouldn't be you as the vice president, vice chairman alone to lay claim to it. And besides, you have even resigned your role in that party. So are these not basic things that the court should first verify before even giving any form of injunction or anything? So they've bastardized the court process, and already the judiciary, I think the judiciary in this country is at its lowest level ever. Lowest level ever. What we are witnessing in real time is a state capture of all infrastructure, all parastatals in this country, all agencies in this country. Everybody is breathing, acting, doing everything on the whims of the president. So if we think democracy, well, I don't see us...
A lot of us might not agree with you on that.
No, so now the thing is, it's very easy for anyone to agree or disagree, but the truth is, let's look at the facts for what it is. It's not enough to just say that it is democracy. What are the things that make up democracy? A government of the people, for the people, by the people. Are we experiencing that? Are the agencies functioning? Are these different arms of government functioning as they ought to independently? There are a lot of question marks that we have currently, and I feel bad because with what has happened with the ADC, it's very clear that this government has no plans to go into the election contesting with any viable opposition. Already, you can see that they prefer to go into the elections with Wike as the presidential candidate of the PDP because there's really no contest.
I don't really think Wike is going to contest.
He has announced that he's contesting, okay. So and he's in control of the party. It's his lifelong ambition to be president.
But there's going to be a primaries, right?
Who is going to run against him?
I mean, we never say never.
No, don't worry, I can assure you there's nobody.
Okay.
There's nobody. Wike is the alpha and omega in PDP right now.
Is that not a little bit contradicting? Because for someone like Wike, who has said, I'm going to be supporting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the next election.
That's what I'm saying. That it's all part of the game. He's in the party. He's contesting as president, but he's not going to win. He's not contesting. I don't see him contesting to win.
Okay. I think that's more clear.
And to add to it again, why I said INEC is deliberately undermining every aspect. Now there are news conversations coming out that INEC wants to revalidate voters. We have over close to 100 million voters, and you want to start revalidating them barely few weeks or months to the election. It's a clear sign that there are plans to disenfranchise voters. Because if currently you're even struggling with your normal registration process of those that are yet to register, you now want to make it clumped up again with a revalidation exercise again.
Can you explain that? Because a lot of persons might not.
So basically, my understanding of the revalidation exercise is saying, we want to revalidate you that you are a viable legal voter. And in doing so, you have to come down to our point to do it manually with our machines to vet that, okay, yes, truly you are legitimate and you can vote. But it's not, so now the revalidation in its sense, in this idea and concept, isn't a bad thing.
Okay.
Because, of course, we've always been clamoring for the register to be cleaned. There are dead persons on the register and all of those things. So let's know exactly who are the legitimate voters. But it is questionable because of the timing. You are currently having an ongoing voters registration drive, which you have not even done best. You are not even perfect. You have not even given us the best of it. And you are struggling with manpower, resources, and all of that. and you now want to come and do a revalidation of the voters register, they are civil servants that go to work from 9 to 5. When would they have the time to even say they want to go somewhere to carry? So you are more or less disenfranchising a good number of people. So if they are going, the only way I can say, or I can call them slacks, is if they find a way to decentralize that revalidation exercise, that individuals can do it manually or from their own comfort, on their phone. Maybe you go to the INEC website and you update it or indicate that you are the one, either with a picture of your card. But to tell people to come down that you are going to provide 2 machines at different polling at INEC points is just a waste of time, honestly. So, and I see that clearly as a clear plan to disenfranchise people, because I can tell you more than 30%, what am I saying? More than 60% of those that are current holders, registered holders, will not be able to go and get it registered. They won't be able to do their revalidation. And already we even have questions as to the legitimacy to vote. As long as you're a citizen, you should be able to vote. So a card should not even determine your eligibility to vote in some ways. But streamline it in a way that it makes it easy. So like I said, every signal points to the fact that we won't have an election in 2027.
I don't want to agree. I believe there's going to be an election.
We'll just go to the polls to fulfill our righteousness, but the results would have been written.
Let's not.
I hope so. I hope that isn't it. But the truth is, because if you study the political space in Nigeria and you're taking things for it is on a case by case basis, at the moment as I'm saying it, to many people they may not be able to understand it, but in another 3-4 years, I say 4 years, 3-4 months, by the time you look backwards on all of these things, you will see that it's leading to it. I think I just have the luxury of being able to say, okay, what has happened in the past? What are the implications of certain decisions? And looking futuristically and say, okay, in other climes where similar things has happened, what did it lead to? And I can't see any other direction beyond that this government has no plans to contest with anybody. It wants to go unopposed. And every major, and ask the question, why is every major political party that are in the opposition having issues? Why is it only the APC that is looking?
If not because of time, I would have actually asked some questions, because this is not the first time that opposition parties will have problems. It happened in 2023, even before
but
that.
the court did not interfere with them.
Are you sure about that?
You can check. The court did not interfere with them. There is no election we've had in the last 20 years that the court is playing a major role in who leads the parties. They would always find a way to sort their issues, because it's not engineered by government. Buhari, for all of his flaws, allowed opposition parties to thrive. Article went to the polls. They didn't bring up factional leaders. It's under this administration we are seeing all of that.
Okay. Because of time, let's cross over to another paper this morning. That's Vanguard, and check this headline that's saying fresh tension in Jos as curfew relaxation triggers attacks. Unit Jos orders hostile evacuations over heightened insecurity. Tinubu postpones Ogun trip, heads to Jos. So another headline from the Punch is saying plateau killings. Tinubu visit Jos. IGP deploys mobile police. So should we expect some peace now that the president decided to visit Jos? And of course, talking about this tension, the curfew and protests as well. Do you think the protests will change anything, if at all, to maybe ensure that there's proper security for the people? Because this is not the first time that we are going to see an attack like this in Jos, really.
Sadly, I think the killings will continue. I don't expect anything different.
What about the president visit? Will it
it's just playing to the gallery. I think a serious government doesn't really need to be there physically before we know that they are serious about it. Now, why am I saying this? At this stage of the administration, I'm looking for the right word so that I won't use some foul languages. But I think it is I think it would be wrong of me personally to assume anything different would come up. Why?
Sorry, before you continue, when the president traveled to the UK for a state visit, a lot of Nigerians said, a lot is happening in the country, and the president decided to travel, not even to visit. But then this time around, he decided to visit Jos.
That's why I said he's playing to the gallery.
Okay.
He was already going to Ogun or wherever he wants to go to. It's just like an afterthought. Oh, did the Jos crisis happen yesterday? It's happened it has been like one of the major trending issue this week when we entered into this week? Why is it just now you're telling us? I don't even need him telling me. Let it just be that I heard that the plane landed there. Which one is that you announced? Because I saw it on his Twitter handle yesterday, announcing that as if it's doing, like, so maybe that's where I have the issue. Reading it, my interpretation stemmed from a place of as if it's doing us a favor by suspending the trip in that is to take to Ogun State to come and. So I felt it was like playing to the gallery. Do the visitation yourself. You don't need to announce to me that you want to go and check them out, and it will take you maybe another 10 hours before you land in Jos. Land there and get, from the moment you heard the news, a serious government should first go there to get on the ground assessment immediately. Then, so what are they discussing in the house or in the security meeting within the last few days? Because I feel immediate timely information is what is needed. Obviously, I know the security outfit would have gotten those information. As I said, what he's doing there is just playing to the gallery. I believe that as a government, if you need to do something, get it done. The just crisis could have been averted long ago. This government cannot tell me that they are suddenly surprised or ambushed by the crisis in Jos. This is something that has been going on for years. So what measures have they been putting in place prior before now for the last 3 years, for the last 2 years, or even last 1 year or 6 months that allows that, okay, measures are in place to avert things like this, that if it eventually happens, we know, okay, it was just one-off and they can now say, okay, we are re-strategizing. There's no clear sign that there's a security plan or approach to mitigate all of this. For all of the noise of Jos, I'm saddened because with the way Nigeria is, I won't be surprised we wake up tomorrow, we hear there's another one in Kogi. Will we keep visiting all of them? No. They should be clear-cut. Like I keep saying every time, we would know when you are working. We don't need to announce to us. At least there's a way things will just move around, that if we are putting measures in place, look at Oyo State, for example. For whenever there are issues that pop up like that, we always know they are one-off, and you see how the government here will react quickly to suppress it.
Oyo is just one state. Nigeria is the entire country.
And Oyo is even limited. Why am I saying so? Oyo, the powers of the governor is even way less limited than the president, because the only persons that the governor of the state can really say he wields control to direct here, and there's the Amotekun. And they're not even well funded, in terms of membership, personnel strength, as the Nigerian police. The Nigerian police, the military, everything is directly under the president. So more is expected of him to get things done than even the state governor. So, and I had to say that because other persons might want to exonerate the governors. No, the governors have their own roles in securing the state. And that's why I'm using Governor Seyi Makinde as a case study, that in his own little way, it has been proven from what we can observe from him that a state government that is serious can actually defend its people by putting measures in place, identifying potential hotspots, using every necessary means to make sure that peace reigns. So whenever it overblows, you can always tell that, okay, maybe a strategy wasn't gotten right, and you can quickly re-strategize and say, okay, we didn't see this aspect coming. Okay, now that we know, let's nip it in the bud. But here we have a government that is looking clueless. Like day in, day out is looking clueless. And they just keep saying, we are sorry, this thing happened, we'll get back to the drawing board. I don't think the drawing board exists. I think these guys have thrown it away I've misplaced it, kind of.
It's a lot to talk about this morning, because, I mean, we said the meeting to receive the new defense minister, and then
they keep talking in public media, we are this, we are doing this, we are doing this, and it's not showing. And I feel, and me, I say it, the government should come out and admit that they've lost the plot regarding security. Let citizens arm themselves. The only reason why people would come out and terrorize you or oppress you is because they feel that they are in power. And we've seen it with this crisis in the north. For every time communities are able to mobilize themselves to fight back, these guys run away. So, and this particular just crisis is very instructive to also indicate, because I was reading, when they were attacked, the youth quickly mobilized themselves. Just at the point they were ready to lay chase on the assailants, the military came in to suppress them and to calm them. I think maybe harassed a few of them or so, just basically trying to quell them. And within a few seconds again, the same military left to them. So those are questions, and this is just for this particular cases. And by the time you want to keep reading and digging deep into other crises that have happened, you see that even the security units are culpable as well. The school that the children that were kidnapped the other time, I think a few months back,
Niger.
The military came into the school to assure them, to calm them and this, and just barely 10 minutes after leaving, the same assailants came and carried them. So there are a lot of question marks security-wise that it's not enough to just hide behind them press statements. We need to see it working. We need to see guys attacked. It's only when Donald Trump starts tightening their throats that we start hearing the military posting on their Twitter.
A lot of Nigerians are saying they don't even see that happening anymore, especially
no, it has calmed down now.
The first lady visited.
It has calmed down. Let Donald Trump talk again. You start seeing different pictures going up and down that the military attacked so today, attacked this, all on papers. Because if truly all the things they were saying back then was true, why is it not consistent? Why are we not? Why were they not happening before that period where the pressure was on? And why is it after the pressure went, it all died down? So is it that you are saying you know what to do and you just decide not to do it?
Well, let's hope that there will be changes, even as we progress as a country.
We can only hope for the best.
It can be.
We can only hope for the best because this government have come to that point where I've just handed this country over to God. I don't want I don't want to be stressed about this country because day in, day out, you just keep seeing different things that just makes your heart sad, and it is very wrong because a lot of lives matter. Like, and I wonder who are they planning to rule over if they kill everybody, as it were in the north.
As well, we pray that will not happen, to us.
It's happening. So our prayer is that there's a stop to it and there's wisdom, because at the end of the day, my submission is not that we should say the country is bad continuously or attack it. It's to keep praying. That's why I said I've handed over this country to God. But it's clear that the people at the ends of our fear, they lack tact, they lack the wisdom. We can only beg God that He guides them and ensure that for all of their shortcomings, this country doesn't fall to the ground, because it's very easy for us to profess doom and all. It will affect everybody. So the best thing is to say, okay, it's clear these ones don't understand anything. Let God guide them. Let them just finish their tenure and let this country still be intact, and new leaders to emerge that will lead us forward.
Okay, so finally, in just 1 minute, because of time, there's this headline on Daily Trust saying, alleged coup plot, families of detained officers protest at National Assembly. And I saw the videos where the kids came out with placards to say, release our parents, release our fathers, and things like that. And what do you think the government should do in just 1 minute?
Honestly, I'm still one of those few persons that feel that there was no military coup. My visit to Aso Rock a few years back kind of solidified that thought long ago for me, that because I saw the whole security processes to even just have access, and you could tell that it's not easy to just have access to the president. Yeah, maybe other people inside the military infrastructure may know better on how to subjugate those systems and the likes, but my general assessment is there's too much in terms of how the government had positioned itself in office with its kinsmen and tribesmen. I don't think that happened, but that narrative helps them to enforce whatever they are doing currently, security-wise, in protecting the president. But I believe that time would make it more clearer. Because if you notice, a lot of these things have been shrouded in secrecy. So it's easy for me to also postulate, because the real figures, the real information are not really made public. So, but I believe that if, for instance, there is nobody guilty, I trust that time would tell and the military would do their own investigation properly, and those that are supposedly guilty will be punished, and those not guilty will also be freed.
All right, we believe that will happen, soon enough. And a big thanks to you, Tim Dr. Ishola, Public Affairs Analyst and Historian, for being a part of this segment.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. We take a short break now. When we come back, we move on to Big Story. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. Please stay with us.
Good morning and welcome to The Big Story on Daybreak Live, where we break down the issues shaping our nation and its future. Today we turn our attention to a growing concern that sits at the intersection of sovereignty, safety, and survival, Nigeria's porous borders. From unchecked migration to infiltration of criminal networks, the question many Nigerians are asking is this: are we still in control of who comes in to our country? The topic this morning: a country without borders, how weak immigration control became a national security risk. It takes a deep dive into consequences of fragile border systems and what it means for national security, economic stability, and public safety. And joining us to unpack this crucial issue is Sam Nwoko. He's the deputy editor at the Nigerian Tribune. He brings his both insight and experience to this conversation this morning. Sam Sebalogo is my name, and thank you for joining us. Nigeria shares thousands of kilometers of land borders with neighboring countries, alongside vast and often under-policed coastal entry points. while regional cooperation and free movement agreements, particularly within West Africa, are designed to promote unity and economic growth. They have also exposed critical gaps in enforcement. Over time, these gaps have evolved into serious vulnerabilities. Reports of arms smuggling, human trafficking, banditry, and insurgent movements have increasingly been linked to weak immigration control and ineffective border surveillance. But beyond the headlines lies a deeper question. Is Nigeria's border challenge a failure of policy, enforcement, or political will? It's a question Sam Woko will have to answer this morning. And with rising insecurity across several regions, it has become imperative to examine how immigration control, or the lack of it, has contributed to the broader national security crisis. This is the conversation we must have, not just to assign blame, but to explore solutions that can restore confidence in the nation's territorial integrity. And it's on that note I bring on board Sam Woko this morning. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning. Good to be here. Good morning, viewers.
Good to have you here once again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, let me ask you this. We want to start from the basics. And how would you assess the current state of Nigeria's border control system? Is it truly porous, as many would say?
In the south, it is not as porous as we have it in the north. Because in the north, there was free movement, inter-border interactions, Nigeria, Niger, Nigeria, Chad, and so on and so forth.
And why so?
And we know that on a number of occasions, especially during the very early stages of the Bola Tinubu administration, you could see that these matters were, hugely highlighted, and it became a source of worry, especially in the National Assembly, with people talking about how they could no longer migrate as easily as they did before. You know, Maradi is not in Nigeria, but we are building railway lines to Maradi and so on. So in the north, it's a different ball game to what we have in the south. So that's a problem. And how porous? Well, it is beginning to look like it is even more porous than we thought it was. So that's one of the things I can see on that matter.
So when we say a country without borders, are we being alarmist, or it is just the true reflection of what we have?
It's actually a true reflection of what we have, because the effects are there for all to see. The effects in the economy, the effects in security, and the effects in many other things that affect Nigeria. So recall that some 2, 3, 4 years ago or thereabouts, there was the blockade of food. You know, it's an attempted blockade. Attempted blockade, when they said they will no longer bring our, some northern
from the north
farmers said they were not going to bring their food to the south to sell. And we asked our correspondent, who is in Sokoto, that, okay, all the onions, because onions is not something you can keep for a long time, you know. It's perishable. So how will they, especially Sokoto, where you have the largest production of that product? And I asked the question, where will they take their onions? And the correspondent said, Oga, they will take it to Benin Republic. I said, we have a border with Benin Republic. He said, it's a place you can go to and come back as you will. You know. However, I think by the next week, they found that the quantity of onions that is consumed by southern Nigeria far outweighs the quantity in 1 week, far outweighs the quantity the entire country called Benin Republic would need in 1 month. So they were forced to bring their onions back to the south and made a unilateral decision to end the blockade. So what I learned from there is that, apart from maybe Niger and other neighboring countries, which we are used to in the north, they had the Benin Republic also to take their migration too. So it was a lesson for me, and I felt, oh, so we even have openings, border migratory reaction, interaction on that side of the country. So it was an eye-opener for me because I never knew. And at the same time, it told me that, well, the problem seems to be bigger than what we know. So it's a big problem.
So to what extent has weak immigration control contributed to insecurity, banditry, kidnappings, and the whole lot in the country?
Well, from what can be seen and from what we have read, it is a big problem on our hands, because to repeatedly report that some of the people who come are people who infiltrated into the country through our porous borders. You know, see what's happening in Zamfara, you know, see what's happening in Sokoto, the northern part, see what's happening in Borno, and so on and so forth. Yes, indigenes could also engage themselves in this, but cross-border movement through the porous borders has aided this insecurity so very much, to the extent that now we have lost track of where the problem started from. And when you look at it very well, intermarriages and sundry economic interactions, socio-economic interactions have expanded the frontiers of these things, and it has made it more like a family issue than we thought it was. I'm talking about the north especially. If you look at the south, the borders are closed, and so if anybody is coming in, the scrutiny here is much higher and more intense and severe than what we have in the north, because in the north we have heard the north, which are unmanned. So the inadequacies in immigration is a standout problem on its own. The inadequacies in economic infrastructure to also man these things is another standout problem. So for, you know, the Minister for Interior said it. He said, oh, okay, now look at 850,000. That's nearly 1 million people staying in this country illegally. You know, and for a minister to be saying that, it means he's echoing
those are ones on the database.
Yes, the ones on the database. So he's only echoing the sentiments of government.
How about those that were not documented?
The government is overwhelmed. So if 850,000 is overstaying their visas, and that's the undocumented one, then be sure that we have more than 1 million or millions that are undocumented.
Before I ask you the next question,
yeah,
I was checking a particular post on social media day before yesterday, and this person went to his junction, and that was in Lagos. Every bike man at that junction, no number plates, and to top it all, they did not understand any of the languages in Nigeria. Because he spoke to them, called other people to speak to them. They did not understand the languages. How did they get there? Were they documented?
They are not. They are all undocumented. Go to the inner crevices of this country. They are everywhere.
Have you been to junctions from junctions to junctions in Ibadan alone?
Last week.
Go to Dugbe.
Last Friday I was in.
Go to Roundabout.
I was
Apata.
I was in Alagbon Close in Lagos, in Ikoyi. And you could see from Obalende roundabout in Lagos, you could see that we have all the bike people there are almost all non-Nigerians. And from what you could hear them say and how you could see them interact, you will know that these people are most likely undocumented. That's one. In Ibadan here, we have a huge, in fact, it's an explosion. Go to Fodasis Junction, go to Challenge, go to any major junction where you have bikes, except maybe very few, like maybe a place like Asabari, or go to Ojo. You will see that, I mean, I don't even know where to start the description of the kind of problem we have in our hands in this country. So it is something that needs to be looked into more critically. But unfortunately, we only window dress some of these issues. We mouth the solutions. We come out with assurances and give kudos and, speak the usual English we have on the template and leave it at that. So, from what happened in Jos Plateau recently, the youths there are saying that these people are not known to them. They are not people they had seen before and things like that. And you could tell that that is part of the problems our porous borders has caused for us.
Okay, now let me ask you two questions in one. If Nigeria as a country has not properly documented Nigerians, how do they intend to document non-Nigerians that are infiltrating through the porous borders? That is one. Are Nigeria's security agencies, are they overwhelmed, under-equipped? And lastly, do you think there is some sort of, they are not so coordinated when it comes to border control?
Let me take it from the last one. They are coordinated because they are trained, but that leads to the second question, which is whether they are overwhelmed. They are overwhelmed because they are even inadequate in terms of number. They are inadequate in number. I mean the personnel. They are inadequate in terms of equipment. They are inadequate in terms of training. They are inadequate in terms of motivation, remuneration, and other things like that. They are even inadequate in terms of government's drive towards making them to do what they want to do, what they are supposed to do. So the last one leads to the second one. And one of the things that will make you understand this is if you go to Kwara State, you will hear immigration officials tell you that, because they themselves even go across the border to buy food. And so people come in, those who go to they know what to do. The officials know what to do, but they lack the wherewithal to do what they are supposed to do. When your guy tells you, and of course they are paramilitary, so they obey orders, they are on orders. If your boss says, no, don't do it, that's the end of it. It's no, don't do it. And then coming to the first question, which is, remind me, sorry?
If Nigeria failing to document its own...
If Nigeria fails to okay, look at the example we have with our own documentation. So, if we have failed to properly if you want to know that we have problem with documentation, take one form of identity, and you will see that you have a problem. Now, if you want to do proper documentation or maybe make changes on your national identification number, it becomes an issue. You see how long it will take, you see how cumbersome it is, you see how expensive it is, and how annoying it could be sometimes. A lady in our office wants to change to her maiden name because since she got married, in fact, she's been married for close to 6 years. She has 2 children, and she has been on the process of changing her name to her husband's name. That problem is still there for her till today, and so on and so forth. Just yesterday, one of the things we were discussing was, what is the problem in having a database upon which you can just do regular changes? At a click of a button, you'll be able to get the documents or the data you need for certain individuals and so on. That is why it is easier for them outside this country if your name is on a database. And unfortunately, what looks like is happening is that the people the government wants to keep a tab on, they do that more easily. If you get to the airport today and you want to travel and your name happens to have been mentioned in security circles, they will flag you.
Right.
It happens to a lot of journalists. They will flag you and say, why did you do this at so time? But please, just go. It is not, they didn't say we should stop you. It happens. So the government keeps the data of the people they want to monitor and leave the other ones to roam as freely as they want to do. And those are the people who are creating economic and security problems, and in some cases social problems for us. Because when there are protests in the north, especially north, you will find out that some of the people who are marching on the streets and torching people's businesses are sometimes not documented. They are not people you can account for. So the government is failing on that part, and it's failing very.
Did Nigeria fail to prepare for future expansion?
Yeah. It even looks like the future stopped when Obasanjo left. Because from that time till now, Nigeria has been on a steady decline.
There has not been any form of population census since 2006.
Well, there has. Well, interesting.
This is 2026.
Interestingly,
And
there has been a budget.
Every 10 years.
They have allocated money for this exercise. I remember one that was supposed to take place in 2023. Or just towards an election, and it was agreed that, look, this is too close to an election, let's just shelve it. But nobody has been talking about it since then. And the ones they did before still do not give us accurate data. So, I don't know. The nearest we came to having something like a good database was when Festus Odumegwu, I remember his name, he used to be the MD, CEO of the Nigerian Breweries, PLC. And when he got to that office as a private individual, somebody coming from the private sector, he saw documents, he saw reports, he said, look, he said, what we are doing here is just rubbish. He said, we are doing nothing near keeping good data to help in planning and development of the country. He said, well, because he began to expose so many things, so much that they had to stop him and sacked him nearly at a snap of a finger. They removed him. Because he said, look, what is happening in the north is... He began to reveal things, he began to say things, and...
Should we now go to a stage where if there should be a population census, we don't just count, we document?
Yes, we should do that. We should have... I mean, it's easy to build that kind of database. The telecommunications companies do it. We even said... Some of us have suggested that we could use it for elections. But the politics they are playing in the National Assembly with the elections will also affect things like that. Not because they do not know what they are doing, but because they don't want to do the right thing. If you have a proper documentation of the citizens, you'll be able to sieve the citizenry. And you'll be able to say, okay, I know where this demography can lead us. I know where this demography cannot lead us. And you'll be able to make balanced, informed opinions about certain behaviors and keep the country safe for all of us.
Do Nigerian people also make it difficult to clean the register?
Yes, to some extent, because we condone a lot. Nigerian people, he is our own kind of attitude is also not helping matters. But it is less in the south. I am insisting on this. It is far less in the south. It is easier for these kind of things to happen in the north.
You saw what happened in 2015,
yeah,
the general elections. You saw children,
yeah,
casting their votes.
Yes, underage voting.
Underage voting.
And they explained it away.
In numbers.
They explained it away. They told us that in fact, the question they asked was, how are you sure that this person is underage? But hey, these are things you could easily decipher from mere looks, you know. But unfortunately, we go with that. This country is all about who does it best. There is no particular way of saying, yes, we must keep our... Nobody is like, from what one can say, nobody is interested in the country. They are only interested in power and in what they make of the power.
Okay, now, Nigeria is part of regional agreements, especially ECOWAS. Do you think this agreement has become more like a double-edged sword?
If ECOWAS remained, or if ECOWAS had remained as what it was
supposed to be. Because there is agreements for free movement from one ECOWAS country to the other.
I was even coming to that. When you look at your passport as a Nigerian, it's ECOWAS. You know, meaning that to some extent, you have this ECOWAS movement thing. But hey, if you want to enter Ghana, it is not good. Nobody will ask.
It's not business as usual.
It's not business as usual. When you get into that country, they take things like this. They take immigration and such movements very seriously. You know, I don't know about Nigeria, because in Nigeria here, apart from the regular checks and so on, so Nigeria as a country is not taking many things seriously. Nigeria as a country is not doing many things right, and we are helpless. because nobody is answering any question. Nobody is called to question. The revelation that Bumi Tunji-Ojo made as the Minister of Interior was unprompted. You know, he just said it. So to a large extent, we are just like a calabash floating on the water. We are rudderless, as it is now, regarding things like that and security.
So would you say this problem is more about policies or poor policies or implementation?
Of course, it has to do with the government. It is the government that will determine all those things. It is the government that will say, this is way to go. It is the government that will provide the framework within which all these things go. You know? So once the policies are there, you keep within the policy. But hey, for now, if the country, everything we are doing now is politics of 2027. No, there is virtually no governance. You know, and when there are insecurity issues, the government will condemn the killing of people and go back and continue their politics.
Is condemnation enough?
It's not, of course. You know that condemnation is just a kind of, you know, playing the... I don't want to call it what came to my mind, but condemnation is not enough, and it is a feeble attempt to sound like you are making sense to a large extent. It is not enough. Condemnation by the military, condemnation by the government, condemnation by the state. No, it's not.
So beyond security, what are the economic implications of weak border control?
First,
we start talking about smuggling and some other things.
Security is at the top of it. Now, with security at the top of it, let us now look at the socio-economic impact of effects of these things. Number one, our economy now is an Okada economy. You know, commercial motorcycle economy.
You can explain that.
Motorcycle economy in the sense that all our modes of transportation still boils down to your bike man. It is now the in thing. It is, in fact, our children do not know what it used to be when we had a good transportation system. The nearest to it is the BRT system in Lagos, which has been called to question recently because of inadequacy of buses. Why are there no buses? It's a business that makes money. It's a revolving thing. Now, what effect, what has that got to do with the issue we are discussing? It's population explosion. If you count Nigerians, are we truly the number we are quoting as our population? Can we plan and say, okay, our elections that are coming, we estimate that X number of people are going to vote. That X number of people, how many of them are Nigerians indeed? So we cannot plan. We have mining issues. By mining issues, I mean illegal mining. That's also part of it. It's affecting our economy in so very many ways.
Smuggling, proliferation of arms.
So the proliferation of arms is even tied to the security issues. Because you have mercenaries floating up and down. People once told us that, you know, in defense of what is happening, that it is because of Libya, they now came into the country. How did they come into the country? Same border issues, same poor border control, and so on and so forth. So if you look at it, it's an issue. It's like a cycle. It comes from one point, affects us at this other point until it comes a full cycle, and then it goes around again. So
how does all of this affect average Nigerians, especially those living on the borderlines?
Poverty. Poverty. Those living on the borderline today, many of them have been sacked. Look at the communities in Kwara State in border areas. They've been sacked. We saw videos of community people moving.
The whole community.
You know, they shifted.
No one there.
And that's also part of the problem we are talking about. So you disrupt the economic life, the ecology, and everything about that community. When they go back to that community, would it be the same again? They might even have had another kind of leader installed. And it's going to be a leader who is armed and who will say, okay, you live by my terms, or government talks about a lot of ungoverned spaces, and they are the government. If government is talking about Niger State governor spoke about ungoverned spaces. If government is talking about ungoverned spaces, am I the one to govern those spaces? So these are the effects on the average Nigerian. It is huge, but it is innocuous. It's coming gradually. It's seeping into our life every day. And I hope we'll find a way to begin to retrace our steps and bring this country back on its feet.
Lastly, before we go, what role does corruption play in all of this?
Corruption is at the base of most of these things, because if the government, which is supposed to do the right thing, fails to do the right, corruption is not only when you steal money. Corruption is when you fail to do your duty. In the knighthood,
Or when you look the other way.
when you look the other way, in the knighthood, you are taught to do well your daily duties. Just that, Mother Teresa said, a saint is sainthood is doing ordinary things in extraordinary way. Just do the things you are supposed to do. Do it well. If your duty is to place this cup before the guest, place the cup the way you are supposed to place it. Do well your daily duty. If the government does its duty, it will prompt the Nigerian Immigration Service to do well its daily duty. Because there won't be an oga that will look the other way when when there are missteps.
Right.
If there are no missteps on this side of the government, there won't be missteps down the line. That is why leadership is at the root of this. And when we don't have the right leadership, the followership will do what they like and they will get away with it.
Thank you, Sam Woko, for joining us on the show.
Thank you
this morning.
for having me.
It's been an eye-opening
Thank you.
session with you.
Thank you.
It is clear from today's discussion that the issues of border control is far more than a bureaucratic concern. It is a matter of national survival. A country's strength is not only measured by its economic or military, but also by its ability to protect its borders and regulate movements within them. As Nigeria continues to grapple with complex security challenges, the urgency to strengthen immigration systems, invest in border technology, and foster regional accountability cannot be overstated. And of course, we say thank you to Sam Woko for shedding light on this pressing issue and helping us better understand the stakes involved. He is the Deputy Editor at the Nigerian Tribune. That's where we draw the curtains on today's edition of The Big Story on Daybreak Live. I am Samson Balogun, reminding you that informed conversations are the first steps towards meaningful change. Stay with us for more updates. Of course, Trend Watch is next. Good morning.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at DominionCast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Coming back, thank you for staying with us. That was an interesting conversation, of course, with Samuoko. This morning we cross over to Trendwatch to see what's trending in the world of politics. Of course, I'm back on set with Samson Balogun.
Good to have you back. That was quite insightful, just like you said. A lot still left unsaid. You can't really touch all that in one day, especially in 40 minutes. But then we're able to do justice to the topic.
You did your bit, right. Okay, so what we're looking at this morning is saying 2027, Surulere stakeholders reject Desmond Elliot fourth term Lagos. I don't know why you're smiling, but let me complete the headline. They are refusing his fourth term Lagos Assembly bid. Of course, ahead of the general elections, a coalition of concerned stakeholders in Surulere on Wednesday yesterday rejected Mr. Desmond Elliott's bid for a fourth term as the lawmaker representing Surulere constituency at the Lagos State House of Assembly. And then the spokesperson for the group, speaking on behalf of the Surulere, said the lawmaker, is delivering few constituency projects and having limited legislative impact. They are saying we are not really seeing what is doing, is not working the way we want him to work, and of course it should give room for another person to come. And then I recall that at the time in this country, Desmond Elliot was probably the most dragged, honestly, young politician in Nigeria. He trended for weeks, for months, and then some persons were saying he had to apologize. Some were even saying go back to movies, leave politics alone. So now they are saying we don't want you to come, maybe because he's looking already like he wants to contest again. That's why they are saying give room to other persons to contest. Do not contest for a fourth term. Well,
Desmond has always had, let me say, Honorable Desmond has always had issues with his constituents. Could remember there was a time he commissioned a particular footpath, more or less like what you call a bridge, and the commission and people were saying, oh, was that the best quality could have given the people of that of that constituency? That was one. That was the time he called Nigerian youth children, and then it came with a lot of backlash. People were dragging him on social media. He had to apologize. He's gone through different phases of politics. There was his time he was coveted. He was the beautiful bride in his constituency. And there also came a time in Surulere where nobody really wanted to hear the name Desmond Elliot. And, he won't be the first person to actually be in that house for years and still want to go back there. And I will cite a lot of instances. In Nigeria, people who have done maybe 3-4 terms as lawmakers, whether at the federal or state level, House of Reps, the Senate, they have always been there. I mean, it's a question. I mean, even the former Senate President, David Mark, was there for how many years? I think was there for about 20 or 24 years. On the floor of the House, he was always going back until some people woke up one day and said, look, enough is enough. You are not going back there. Another member of the House of Reps, who is also facing that now, is Akin Alabi in Egbeda Onuara. He's probably going for his fourth time in the third or fourth, and then people are saying, look, enough is enough. Let's take someone else from another local government to represent us. You see, these things will always happen. Now, it might just be a fraction of the people in Surulere that are doing this, and might just be a complete overview of what their thoughts are at this time, saying, look, we have had enough of Desmond Elliot, and we want someone else to represent us. However, this cannot just be done on the pages of the newspaper. You have to go, first of all, you join the political parties if you truly want him out of office. And another thing is you are actively involved in the politics, party politics, because that's the place where decisions are made. If you cannot kick him out at the party level, it will be really difficult to kick him out at the polls. So what you do is to join politics, be a card-carrying member of a political party, most likely it's political party, and then vote him out, because the Electoral Act gives room for that now. In the situation where there's no consensus, then every member of the party, they get to vote, and you vote him out from there. But saying this on the pages of news might not really. We have seen people who have been dragged on the on the newspaper, and then they eventually get the ticket and go back. Aki Alabi had the same issue in the last election. Some people said, no, we are not returning Aki Alabi. But hey, he's almost 4 years in office.
Even Natasha.
Natasha put it down.
Do you know that the former governor, remind me his name
that's Yaya Bello.
Yaya Bello. You know, he declared his intention to contest, and then some persons were saying, okay, maybe Natasha should step down. And some are saying, no, if she wants to contest
You
again,
always
let her
have
contest
divided
again.
opinions
Exactly.
about that.
People can never be united on this matter. But if the people want you out, maybe something you should take about. Let's take a few comments just before we sign out this morning. And
okay, I think Popu Tima says he's too old for that position. He should go to federal or rest. Okay? Well, I don't think anybody is too old to occupy a position, political office in Nigeria. As it stands, there's no age bracket that says if you are this old, you cannot go to this office.
Right.
Another comment this morning.
State boys is saying, bros, your time is up. Give another young blood a chance to represent your constituency. And people keep referring to young person, young person. Maybe they need you.
I don't think Desmond is too old. He's in his 50s, if I'm not mistaken. And he's not too old. At least in some places, especially in some churches, we still have people in their 50s, late 50s being youth leaders. So it still happens. Especially
late 50s.
Right. It still happens. Yeah. And in some political parties too. The youth leaders are usually adults. And this is Nigeria.
And even some youth are not interested in politics.
We are not interested in politics. And also we have also seen, a man being, Minister of Women Affairs. It happens. And Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's name was removed from a conference that she was meant to travel to and was replaced by a man. So in Nigeria, a lot of things can happen. A youth can just be a 60-year-old.
And that's the can be 75.
And that's where we draw the curtains.
According to Samson's textbook, not by
This is Nigeria. Right. Anything can happen.
Right.
It's a convenient place to leave it on this show this morning. So thank you for joining us. Do well to link up with us again tomorrow on the same station, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Daybreak Live Extra tomorrow, because that's the Owambe edition. On a Friday, we bring it on a different level. Samson Balogun is my name. I say keep being good out there, keep being safe. Security business is everybody's business. If you see something, say something. Bye for now. All
right, thank you for reminding me that tomorrow is extra. I was going to turn up in a black or maybe white suit. All right, so my name is Oluwayemi Adelako. Thank you for joining us. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.